Hong Kong's chief executive election takes place this Sunday. John Lee, he's the city's sole nominee, attempted to craft a more personable image during his election rally instead of delving too much into his policy goals. This is Hong Kong's first election under Beijing's reformed electoral system to ensure only patriots govern Hong Kong. For a good 5 minutes, every attendee stood with rapt attention as the Chinese national anthem was played. Is emblematic of Hong Kong's trajectory towards deeper integration with the Chinese mainland. Attendance at election rallies is often seen as a litmus test of a candidate's popularity. A prominent businessman, Alan Zeman, and Victor Lee, as well as former Chief Executive C.Y. Leung, all showed up, sending a clear signal that Mr. Lee had the support of pro-Beijing political heavyweights. It's not surprising given he has already secured 786 nominations. He now has to garner at least 750 votes on Sunday to officially be named Hong Kong's next leader.
回顧過去，香港獲得到好多寶貴嘅經驗，需要借鑑記取，亦都有不少嘅深層問題需要我哋努力解決。如果我當選，我將會帶俾大家一個會做事、做成事嘅政府。
For more on Hong Kong's upcoming election, Assistant Professor Liu Dongshu from the Department of Public Policy at City University Hong Kong joins us live. Professor, this came up even when John Lee was picked as Chief Secretary. His background as a career policeman, given his strong background in security, is he equipped to handle Hong Kong's major policy challenges such as housing?
Oh, great. So thank you for having me. So yes, I think that's a kind of legitimate question. So John Lee's background as a career police with relatively little experiences in other government sector will be a big challenge for him if he want to address the complicated problem. But of course, like he may get the endorsement from Beijing, and also because like the central government and the local Hong Kong, maybe a lot of pro-establishment parties agree that some of the like housing problem have to be solved in order to maintain the stability of Hong Kong. So from that side, maybe he gets some support. But I think beside his background, another problem is that so the political situation in Hong Kong, although like after the political reform has been stabilized, but still the society is divided, and a lot of issues, like you said, the housing or a lot of other policies, is probably cannot be solved with such a divided government. So I doubt, like, of course, like his background will be a problem, but I also doubt, like, he's relatively inexperienced in politics, together with his like strong, like tough position in like for various issues would make him politically challenged to solve a lot of problems as well. So in general, yeah, I agree, it will be a challenge, and I don't feel very optimistic, to be honest, about like his ability to address those problems.
Oh, it's not just division in government. Also, Hong Kong's economy has been suffering from COVID-19 border closures. Now, Mr. Lee will have to turn that around. Can he navigate the international business community?
Yeah, and again, I think that's from like we can have several perspectives to think about that. For the good side, I think he was like tasked to do that. I think the recent financial kind of problem in Beijing make the central government feel that Hong Kong as a financial hub is still important for China. So we can see a gradually but kind of determined kind of narrative change that Hong Kong start to be more and more like talking about reconnection to the rest of the world. So I think like for COVID and for a lot of things, Lee was tasked to do that. I think he will get support, he will get resources to do that. But again, like I think for COVID travel, it's not just about like Hong Kong. You have to think about the mainland China. You need to think about the central government, not only because Hong Kong also need to resume travel with China, but also because like COVID becomes such a politically sensitive topic in China. So given that, And it's actually beyond what the local Hong Kong government can control. It's more like a national-wide issue. So if you are talking about in short term, whether Li can navigate the international business community regarding the COVID, I think he can do some positive thing, but the general progress probably will be not very significant. And another way to see that is in long term, whether he can kind of restore Hong Kong's the business confidence in Hong Kong as an international hub. That will be more about Hong Kong's like a social and political development rather than COVID-19, but that will require more works.
Oh, Professor, reflecting this confidence, we've seen Hong Kong residents and expatriates leaving the city in droves since January. Even incumbent CEO Carrie Lam has acknowledged there is a brain drain. Does Mr. Li have any plan to deal with this major brain drain and bring people back to Hong Kong?
Yeah, I think like if you see his speech, he did recognize that, although he didn't admit that it's the fault of like a Hong Kong government or it's either political fault or like COVID policy fault, but he did admit that people are leaving. Of course, they express confidence that people will coming back, which partly is true because like the reason why business people, the reason why expats want to work in Hong Kong is because like Hong Kong is an international hub. Hong Kong has a connection with like mainland China and the world. As long as like you still want to do business with China, you probably still want to stay in Hong Kong because Hong Kong is one of the few places that will suit that purpose. But of course, like Li have to deal with a lot of things. He have to, in the short term, he has to probably change the COVID travel restriction. He have to restore people's confidence that Hong Kong, there's still like autonomy. I think that's COVID policy reflects that because people worry that you don't have your own COVID policy, you just follow what the central government decides. But in long term, it's not just about COVID. The new government, Li, have to demonstrate that under his government, Hong Kong still has the autonomy that many expats, many international people value. So they are willing to stay in Hong Kong. I think demonstrating that Hong Kong can still pursue an independent and in somewhat different paths with the rest of China will be the very critical thing that Li needs to maintain Hong Kong's attractiveness to the outside expat.
And a tough job ahead for John Li if he gets elected this Sunday, as he's likely to be. Professor Liu Dongshu from the Department of Public Policy at City University, Hong Kong.